4 Midwest Guys presents Star Trek Beyond Reactions.
Hello everybody and welcome back to 4 Midwest Guys presents Star Trek Beyond Reactions. We're finally back from our little summer hiatus, slight little vacation for everybody, but we're back and we're ready to go. With me today is Johnny Z.
I had a vacation.
You did?
Did I?
Did you? Did you enjoy it?
I went out of town with a 2-year-old. How much vacation could that be?
Okay. Well,
and my parents.
St. John the Perpetual Highway. And his lovely wife, Stephanie.
Who also had a vacation.
Who had to go on vacation with me, so it was less of a vacation.
Hello.
Hello. And that's all she's going to say.
Just to give us a change of scenery.
And down the hallway is Aaron, my brother Aaron.
Hey, how's it going, man?
How's it going?
Yeah, I'm doing alright.
Good. And with him down the hallway is Mr. Brian Eichenbauer.
Hello, 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 hello.
They're sharing a mic, just so you know.
That's not all they're sharing.
Because
And also we're sharing.
Whoa, wait
I
now.
think there's some implications there I'm not aware of.
Apparently the hallway.
Whoa.
here's a hot dog. You see the problem here?
And there we go. All right. We're back. We're right back where we left
And
off.
on that note, we're talking about Star Trek. Why does that connect? I don't know.
I'm not even going to go there. To boldly go where? Never mind. Okay, so the first part. So we're gonna get into it. First part, we'll go into. We're gonna do a real quick spoiler-free, just in case you haven't seen the movie yet. Then we'll do our spoiler section and go from there. So, and we'll also have some quick-fire questions at the end. So, let's just get right into initial spoiler-free reactions. Just real quick from everybody, is it worth seeing? Just a quick yes or no, Mr. Eichenbauer.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
Aaron says sure. Stephanie?
Yes.
Yes. Johnny?
Absolutely.
I agree. 100% yes. Scale from 1 to 10 on just the special effects. Brian?
10.
10. Aaron?
9.
9? Okay. Stephanie?
9.
9? Okay.
8.5, 9.
8.5, 9? I'll go 9.5. I thought it was pretty good. So, well worth it for the effects. Action scale.
There were moments I did ask how they did it sometimes, even though I know it's computers, but still.
But still, yeah, it looked good.
I had to throw in more than just a little.
Oh, that's fine. I was waiting for it, actually. I'm surprised we got that far. Action scale, 1 to 10, Brian.
9.
9? Okay.
7.
7? Okay. Stephanie?
That was a noise upstairs that's distracting her right now. I think it was... Oh, hi, cat. Holy crap. Oh, my God.
Okay. Thanks for... The cat has apparently wanted to up the action scale.
There's a cat in your drapes.
Alright, so that bumps that up to an 8.
Aaron has changed it from a 7 to an 8. Thanks to the cat. 7 from Stephanie.
Steph's traumatized by the thought of her cat in peril.
You ever seen a cat with ocean face?
And that was his ass. He had the ocean ass.
It's like, oh shit.
Relief by John's cat. All right.
Cat's awesome.
Action.
I would probably rate it a 9.
9. Okay. I would also give it a 9, actually.
Considering that
For Star Trek movie especially.
Yeah, for Star Trek movie standard stuff, yeah, it's a 9.
Okay.
She just gave me a look here like, really?
Story and plot, 1 to 10, Brian.
7.
7? Okay.
7.
7. Steph?
Fair. 7.
7? Okay.
7 to 8, yeah.
Yeah, I'll actually bump it up as an 8. There were some different things. They went a few different areas, I thought. So I'll give it an 8. Finally, did it feel like Star Trek? Brian.
Which Star Trek? Like, does it feel like the Star Trek, like the originals? Like, isn't like like
Is it the slow motion picture?
Kirk and stuff, or like the new reboot?
The prequel
I
Star
would
Trek?
say as a whole, like as in the genre as a whole, even though the reboots have a kind of a different feel, but
Okay, it felt
Run
100% like the reboots,
okay, all right,
but it does not feel like the Captain Kirk and all those.
the original
Yeah.
movies. Okay, that's fair. Fair.
Just the change in graphics.
Yeah,
Just
I mean, it was the change in graphics, change in pace, a lot more action than the other movies had.
Okay.
yeah, it's similar to the reboots I've seen.
Okay, that's fair. What do you think, Steph?
Star Trek reboot.
Star Trek reboot. You're gonna keep with the short answer tonight, aren't you?
Doing this on purpose, yeah. I bring her. I say, hey, she's got to do this because she's like this lifelong Star Trek fan, and now she's giving me nothing intentionally.
She's like, okay.
Sorry.
You married her.
I know.
Go ahead,
Yes, I married her.
Johnny.
I guess I'll say. I hate to say it. I almost want to say yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, in the sense that it had a lot of the feel of the interaction of the characters, and I like the way it played out. And no, in the sense that it's like the reboots doing its own thing from the series. And I was even telling Steph when we first came out of it that a lot of like the really great ones, like parts 2, 4, and 6, of course the even number ones, they all were metaphors for something larger. And this one, not much of a metaphor, but it still did its own thing. So that's why I'm kind of torn when you ask, is it like Star Trek? So I'm like, yes and no. So
Okay. To be fair, it's not going to be like the old Star Trek movies because it's not the old Star Trek movies.
Mhm.
These are all reboots. These are all different.
Mhm.
These are all different.
Different time.
They're the same characters, but they're different actors, different people putting their own spin on this.
Okay.
So that's
Your
yeah.
I will go and say, as far as the reboots are concerned, since we're kind of going down that way, I would say as the reboots go, this one felt the most like Star Trek to me compared to the first two. As far as comparing between the two series, this one
definitely
had a little bit more of the science in it. It wasn't more like, hey, here's the problem, let's just go with it. It's actually was a little bit of logic and reasoning behind it, and that's more Star Trek. It was less Star Wars this time around and more Star Trek than the other two have been, in my opinion. Although the action is nonstop, and I'll give it that, but the other two feel more like Star Wars to me than Star Trek. This one at least has familiar character interactions from the original series, and also has, well, like I said, a little bit more logic and science kind of thrown in there. At least they try to throw it in there.
The first one though was also, if we're going to talk about the reboots like that, the second one needs to be thrown up because it was crap.
no.
The first one was really good because you saw the interactions and how they were going to interact, and you saw that in the first Star Trek film also, when Bones and Spock met, when Jim met his crew and stuff like that. That's you saw that interaction there. But in this one you saw more in-depth interaction because they needed that, because they didn't have that in the last one.
Yeah, they actually had, like, the way the story played out in this one, they gave them a chance to where each one had, like, their own individual story and were allowed to play off each other just right.
Well, when they were talking about, was reading an article about it, and they were talking about, like, the main focus of this movie was unity and group and strength of everybody together.
Yeah.
And that's what they were trying to hone in on throughout the whole movie. So that was the
And they
underlying
did.
metaphor, and it
And
played
they
out
did.
really well.
Yeah, it came through big time, yeah.
Yeah, and to be fair, for not that I want to make this a Star Trek Into Darkness podcast, but I mean, what they were trying to do there is they were trying to do a play off the original Star Trek 2.
No, I understand, and they did
were,
it wrong.
Well, right. Well, they they tried to make it Khan versus Spock instead of Khan versus Kirk, and it was
Oh, I'm leaving this whole stuff.
a little bit of a mess. I
They
agree.
did it absolutely wrong.
Okay, I'll tell the story.
And compared to the first reboot, it was a letdown.
Can I
to me,
tell?
but I didn't think it was horrible.
Which actually, funny thing is, around the time that Into Darkness came out, that summer they had a Star Trek convention. I can't remember what anniversary it was, but they had all the fans rank each of the Star Trek movies.
Mm-hmm.
Into Darkness ranked dead last, like past episode. Part
no
one,
way.
past
Final
part.
Frontier is the last.
Well, 'cause here's-
Star Trek 5 is horrible.
I'm actually going to say Insurrection for me.
Really?
Yeah,
No.
Insurrection. Here's the thing: Why was Star Trek 5 bad?
Star Trek 5 was horrible.
Okay, do you remember the scenes that made it horrible?
Other than Spock had a brother and that they went across this great barrier and then they found Spock's brother to be, or they found this being that couldn't get off the planet who was pretending to be God that Spock's brother was trying to chase down, blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
Ugh.
What do you remember from Part 9?
What, Insurrection?
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole, them wanting to take over the, that's... No, you got the Romulans.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Well, no.
9 is so forgettable, and that's the
it's
last thing that should happen in a Star Trek movie.
It's not forgettable.
It's forgettable, yeah. It was that colony of people that aged a long time,
Well,
and it violates the very
They tried-
essence of it, of the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Hey, we're going to save this small colony so that billions of people can die so that we can't study you. I mean, it literally violates the entire basis of the Star Trek franchise. So, yeah, I'm still saying Insurrection's my least favorite, but Stephanie actually has turned me around to realizing just how much of a violation Into Darkness was. And I gotta say, the one thing that did piss me off about that, and I gotta put some blame on Abrams for it, how many months did he say, no, Khan is not in this movie?
Well, yeah, of course he would. That's
Because you don't want to give away your biggest,
But here's
biggest
the thing.
twist.
But
That's
how many?
supposed to be the reveal.
But you can have a better way of doing it. Like, how many months did we go by and people kept asking George Martin, hey, is Jon Snow alive? Is Jon Snow alive? He never answered, but he never once lied. That's a thing. Is
people say they feel betrayed, but you know what? That's the biggest part of that movie. That's one of the big reveals of that movie. I would say the same thing if I was JJ.
Exactly.
I didn't care that they had Khan in the movie. That, yay, awesome, good.
Well,
I was disappointed in that they made it about him and Spock and not about him and Kirk, because that was the whole.
Well, they were trying to do the whole
yeah,
role
but
reversal
like you
thing.
said, it was a new twist on all the different stuff.
A, it's a new twist. B, it's supposed to be parallel universes and different things happening at different times.
But here's the thing: it's not so much a new twist when you take literally one entire page of the most sacred dialogue in a Star Trek franchise and just switch the character names.
Oh, I agree. It's lazy writing.
That was lazy ass writing.
But they also said, when Spock met up with him, he's like, "Oh, you're not the captain. You're the first officer." And he's like, "Yeah, so
Well, no,
you're the captain." He's like,
but the line should not
really
be the same.
interesting.
It's a different. If it's a different universe and a different timeline, they aren't going to say the exact same things that they said in the other timeline.
How do you know? What other timeline have you been in?
All right. Okay, well, let's not turn this into.
I'm going to break out the multiverse theories here, but here's the thing: they can't exist in the same universe. Just like
I said,
identically, they cannot.
I don't want to make this about Star Trek Into Darkness. So, all right. So that is our spoiler-free section of Star Trek Beyond. So from this point on, you got fair warning, spoiler alert from this point forward. So if you don't want to know any spoilers, stop
Shields
the
up.
podcast. Shields up. Earplugs in. Now.
Red alert. Red shirts off.
Put your earplugs in and continue to listen to the podcast.
Hey, we want the ratings.
We don't care if you put earplugs in and ignore us. Just keep playing us.
Exactly.
Over and over. Put us on repeat and walk away.
Yeah, that's right.
Let us be the white noise as you sleep.
We need
Wake up!
hits. Stats. Please, no, I'm kidding. Anyway. All right.
Desperate.
All right, guys. No more restrictions. Shields down. Phasers off stun. Blah, blah, blah.
Apparently, according to this one, it didn't matter if we had our shields up. The thing was going to, fucking destroy the ship anyway.
Dude, this thing was just it was like Star Trek on speed. I don't think I've ever seen a Star Trek movie from the first scene.
Warp speed and furious.
Yeah, I mean, just out of control. I was very impressed with it. I didn't think a Star Trek movie could do what they did with that Star Trek movie. I don't know. So let's get back to the question we ended with in our spoiler. Did it feel like Star Trek, yes or no, and why? And Steph, I'll let you take the lead on this one.
It's all you.
Yeah.
Let your nerd flag wave high. Come on. Come on, I love it.
I started to say it in the non-spoiler part, I guess. Yes, to me it felt like a really good Star Trek film. It paid homage to old Star Trek, and it did it very well in talking about Spock, and then at the towards the end of the film, where you see the picture of the old crew, that I was in tears.
Oh my god! Yeah.
I was like crying at that part, and it was so good.
And they were playing the original theme too.
Yes, they were. And it, to me, yes, it did feel like a good campy Star Trek film, and one that I'll probably watch over and over again. And I'll show my daughter and things like that. So
She loves the music. I'll tell you that right now.
yeah, I was very happy with it.
Okay. So it definitely felt like Star Trek to you.
The first scene, the first part of it,
Yeah.
This
I
is
was
so fun.
The first part of it, the first scene, I was like,
Oh,
what
no.
the fuck am I watching?
The first star.
Where he's all mopey about being a Star Trek.
No,
guy.
not that.
No.
Okay. The first
Stop.
star. Okay, sorry. I was just gonna say.
So
the little alien
the
things.
stupid little alien bullshit. I was
Oh,
like,
God.
Yeah.
I'm like, when did Star Trek meet Men in Black? I'm like, what the fuck is
That,
this?
yeah, that was a really bad scene.
I thought it was pretty funny, actually.
In terms
But-
of just
but-
like how it was
It's
shot,
just-
it was amusing. Like you have like kind of play on like size.
Yeah,
that
I-
reveal was
Yeah.
kind of cool.
that was
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah.
But it was, I'm like, what are they doing to my
Holy
Star
shit.
Trek?
Yeah, no,
I'm like, I get that Trebles are aliens. I get it. There's different aliens. We don't know what all they look like. But what
Or
the
size.
fuck?
I thought that was hilarious.
I thought that
and it was relevant to the overall plot at the end.
I thought it was fucking great, but as it opened up to this, I was like, ooh.
Yeah, oh no, the funny thing is, like, the very first star of the Paramount logo flies up on screen, and the first words that she mutters out of her mouth, I hear, "This better not suck." Because she was just that seething. I wish you guys could have been there to see her, like, coming out of Into Darkness. I was like, wow, it's so much fun.
But
And
this
there
isn't about Into
No, it's not
Darkness,
about
so
Into
I'm not
Darkness.
doing that.
So, no, you've been waiting 3 years with the pain of Into Darkness still
Yes.
sitting fresh in
I
you.
won't watch that.
She won't.
I saw it in the theater. I will not watch it
And
again.
then, yeah, she went into it. She's like, try to be a blank slate, try to be a blank slate. That one star up here, she's like, this better not suck.
All right, John.
And then,
no, go ahead. Sorry.
okay, and then that first scene shows up. And I'm with you. I mean, that was... I started to get that feeling, too. I was like, what the hell are they doing? Because in that scene, you're like, yeah, it's a little dog-like creature. Like, he asked a question, very proper. And then all of a sudden, he just gets bipolar. He's like, oh, you got declaring war. I'm like, what the hell is happening?
I thought it was
mean,
great.
it was just like it was
Hysterical.
felt very rushed. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was pretty cool that like he jumps down because you think you're seeing like this 12-foot mammoth-sized
And to take
alien,
out Kirk. And
and then he jumps down. He's like a little ankle biter. He's
Yeah,
like a little
that's
chihuahua.
what makes it funny.
It was funny, yeah, but
And then there's like a ton of them all hanging on.
Yeah, then it just goes into that kind
Yeah.
of just mob, just
Yeah.
hush.
and it just,
Sulu, get me outta here.
felt so weird, but
I thought it was great.
yeah, looking back on it, like it set up a lot of stuff for the rest of the plot, and it was kind of fun because, and then the scene that immediately follows after that, that's the moment that at least started to feel like Star Trek. Because it's not the fact that he's mopey; it's the fact that they're saying, yeah, it's a 5-year journey. We're 3 years into it, and then just like, and you start seeing the crew. I mean, in all of them, in the last couple movies, when's the last time we've seen anything other than the main cast? We started seeing the rest of the crew in some small
I
manner.
thought it was also cool they brought up his birthday again.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
brought that back.
And he said, what was it? I'm 1 year older than my father would have been.
Yeah, they're very much
Oh,
Batman
man.
and Superman. That seems to be a theme this year.
Well, no, but this was done well and written well.
Yeah, that's another podcast.
All right.
But yeah, it's just like when you felt the weight, and then Bones comes out, and then just started talking about Kirk's kind of just a conflict as a leader.
And it was nice to see Bones back though, as a friend, as a
friend,
and
Confidant.
and with that great sense of Bones humor too.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he wasn't. Quite as like grizzled as DeForest Kelly was at the
He's
age.
pretty close.
He's
He does
getting
a good
close,
job.
but he's still got that attitude, which is what was great.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, like
So it felt-
that's when it started feeling like Star Trek. Okay, because for the longest time I remember reading about Simon Pegg, and Simon Pegg has said, "Yeah, we're really sorry about Into Darkness, but guys, I'm a lifelong Star Trek fan. Let me write the script, and I'll do you justice." And then I was like, "Hey, cool, Simon Pegg is a big fan." And then I see like Justin Lin, the director of Fast and Furious. I went, oh shit! I was like, they're going to try to make it action oriented. Then I just recently read that Justin Lin himself was a lifelong Star Trek fan. I was like, okay.
On board.
So yeah, you got a writer that loves the source material. You got a director that loves the source material. Yeah, I just.
So
sorry,
it definitely
I just
felt like Star Trek.
That's when it started to feel like Star Trek for me. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I just,
Aaron?
I can only really compare it just to the reboots because I never watched the older franchise. But
That's fair enough.
for me, it holds up to the previous films. I mean, especially if you're going back to the first one where it does, kind of focus on the relationships very heavily.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think this one's a bit more fast-paced than the previous two. And
yeah.
It needed to be.
Yeah, but at the same time, yeah, it definitely holds up. I think it did well in terms of like homages to like the older series as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Brian?
Yeah, I liked it. I felt it was just like a Star Trek movie for me.
Yep.
Like I said, aside from the originals, it was way faster paced, but it kept up with the reboot.
It
like
did.
each reboot has kind of went a little faster as it's gone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the next one, just everyone's on cocaine.
Yeah, I
Just
mean,
all the
that's
time.
So like in 30 years, the next reboot, it's literally going to feel like those shoot up sequences in Requiem for a Dream, where it's just like completely insanely paced.
Yeah, but I really like the opening scene with the creatures and stuff because they've opened almost what the first one opened with.
The first one opened with the
Romulan
ship coming in and basically destroying Kirk's father.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Kirk's
And then-
father stayed
which-
behind.
Right, and then the second one is the one that started with the other planet where Spock went down to stop the volcano.
No,
right?
that's the first one.
No, that's the second.
That's the second one. It
The
starts with
the volcano.
yeah,
So the volcano
right.
was in
So
the
they're observing the people, and then they want to,
Right. Into the water, yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So then this one starts out with the same thing. Basically, they're peacekeepers in the in the universe, whatever. So yeah, it felt very Star Trek-ish to me.
That's a good point. Yeah. For me, it definitely felt like Star Trek from everything, from the way the characters interacted, which we'll get into a little bit more later, right down to, like I said they threw the science in at you with especially with the key scene that we'll also talk about here in a little bit, the sabotage scene with the music. I enjoyed it. I mean, it was fun. It's a fun Star Trek movie. It's Star Trek, but it's Star Trek on speed. As far as the next one being even faster, I don't think it can get any faster. I think they've hit warp.
I don't know. Have you seen the Fast and Furious movies?
I don't know. Justin Lin does keep adding.
He does, man.
I don't know.
He is fast-paced.
I just don't know if you can make a Star Trek movie any quicker. This thing was on warp 10.
They have
but-
warp drive.
They have
so-
they have many different
We're
warp
good.
speeds, man.
But the other thing I also liked about this film that I don't know if any of you caught was they talked about the insignias, their badges.
The emblems, yes.
And each of them means a different thing.
Mhm.
Like there's a captain's badge. There, Scotty's is engineering,
Right.
and then there's medical, and I don't know if any of you caught that.
No, I didn't actually.
But in Star Trek, each badge means something.
Mhm.
So there's like different, like the
I thought
emblems.
it was really cool that they brought that out too.
The emblems had like different markings on them. It's like Kirk's the captain, and then you got the
Yeah,
engineer.
right.
Wow. Yeah, I want to watch it again just for that now.
Yeah, that's one detail I didn't quite pick up on either. All right, so let's move on. Let's talk about Yorktown Starbase. This was my moment of wow in this movie.
Do you mean Elysium on crack?
Yes,
Oh my God.
exactly. It was Elysium on crack. I was
Thank you.
highly
It looked better than Elysium.
It did look better, yeah.
I was highly impressed with this because I was not expecting this
Oh my
in any way,
God.
shape, or form, especially from Star Trek. I mean, we've seen the star bases before where the ship
Deep
goes
Space Nine?
Yeah, Deep Space Nine. Or
You know what?
They go inside a hangar. Nothing
This one
like a
under the
livable
water.
environment.
Oh my god! You know
Yeah.
what? Okay, I love science fiction set design of movies, like the original Star Wars, Blade Runner, Fifth Element. The Fifth Element was like the last good science fiction set design I've seen in a movie. I really hope at the end of the year the Oscars remembers this movie for production design because Yorktown was fucking beautiful.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Buildings upside down.
Oh my
everything
god, like
was
different
crazy.
rings. There's like
Yeah.
intersections of like different points. Like
It was
Steph said,
gorgeous.
it's underwater.
Like
I just,
the one
Yeah, it
part,
was like
the one
an
part where the
inverse
four
planet.
towers all hit the same
oh
spot.
god, it was
It was
like,
like
It was like Inception meets
Yeah,
Elysium.
and you can watch the air go through.
Yeah.
That
Oh
was
my
awesome.
This
It
was
has
one
the
of,
little gravity
Yeah.
channels.
Uh-huh.
the planet itself, the other planet that they end up on, Yorktown, and that, this was one of the most beautifully designed science fiction films I have seen in decades.
I thought it was fantastic. It just took me completely out. I was like, this is Star Trek? I was like, wow, this is great. This is awesome. And any joke you want to make about it, Bones made right at the beginning. Looks like a snow globe going to crack.
Yeah,
I mean, other than that, it
and
was
then they just
fantastic.
relished in the beauty of it, too.
I was just blown away by it. I mean, it completely blew my mind, special effect wise.
Your daughter's like doing like gymnastics
I know.
upstairs. We're hearing like
She
bumps
probably,
in the
I think
ceiling.
she dropped her iPad.
I've just never seen anything like it. It was so not Star Trek, but at the same time it was Star Trek. I mean, obviously because you see the ship go in underneath the water,
Right,
like we
right.
said.
Yeah.
It was just something I was like, oh my god! It talk about expanding the Star
Well,
Trek
what's-
universe for the
what's
first
funny
time.
Is first I thought it was going through kind of a hangar tunnel and stuff, and then I realized, hey, no, that's going underneath water.
Yeah,
Okay, all right.
yeah, very cool. Some super cool stuff as Brian breaks his phone.
And opens my Xbox.
I did not. It's closed
All right,
now.
so let's get to the tearjerker that Stephanie mentioned earlier. They included Leonard Nimoy's death in the story. What'd you guys
wow.
think about this one, Aaron? What'd you think?
I thought it was actually really tastefully done. Like, it's kind of a nice little tribute to his role in the series. It included well, and even towards the end, it kind of wraps up with that. And I thought it was done very well.
I thought so too. Brian.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was good that they played on it. It was interesting that they made it as big of a deal as they did.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like I thought they were gonna, I could
Nimoy didn't die that long ago.
yeah, I could
so-
see him mentioning
yeah.
it maybe, but it actually played a significant role in what
It
Spock's
did.
decisions in the movie were
Yeah,
going to be
it-
and
it-
stuff. And it's
it-
like,
I just wonder
ooh.
if they were going to write him out anyway.
Well,
If
what's funny is that they did talk about having to do a rewrite, and I wonder if that was the rewrite they put in there.
That probably was. Actually, you're right. That affected his entire motivation. Like, Spock's character, literally from that moment, like, he says that he wants to basically make, like, little Spocks. He's got to, like, find other female Vulcans. And, because this is a timeline in which the planet Vulcan doesn't exist anymore. That, he's feeling his own mortality. Kirk's feeling his own mortality. I mean, they tied it in so
Wait.
beautifully.
Vulcan does exist, doesn't it? I thought
No,
they-
new Vulcan.
in-
New Vulcan.
Yeah.
Okay,
New
that's what I
Vulcan,
meant.
but
I was like, wait, I
it's-
thought he said he found a planet. Hold on.
Well, it's like New Namek in Dragon Ball
Right,
Z.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
they basically have the refugees.
Yeah.
Yeah, building a
Yeah.
colony.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, because we now established that Spock and Uhura are an item in this series, and now, like, the first time we see those two together, she's walking away from him and
Trying to
it's
get
like-
back a necklace.
right, trying to get back the necklace, and then Spock,
Yeah.
who you can tell does still love her, but wants to preserve his species. I mean, it was just, yeah, you're right. The death of Nimoy really, the writers knew what to do.
And
You
a
know?
lot of depth.
Yeah.
And I like the idea that I guess this timeline Spock got his personal effects in a box.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, and then you got to see the picture of the original crew, cast and crew and whatnot, which was a really cool
It was
little
like, this is my timeline, and here's
something that happened.
go your own route.
But he
Right.
Like, go
didn't-
make
but-
your own journey.
But this is what you're going to miss out on, potentially. You
Right.
know, this is, look at what we built. We were,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah.
He didn't look at that picture until the end.
Right, exactly. But because he got Spock's special personal effects.
Yeah.
Right.
Ambassador Spock, the original Spock.
Yeah. No. Him in another universe.
Right. So
Yes,
it was only
yeah.
fitting that he got
Right. His stuff.
his stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So he got his stuff.
He did.
It was probably the
Big
best.
league. No.
Yeah.
It's probably the best homage.
It was cool to hear the original, like you said earlier, original Star Trek.
Well, and especially knowing that, I mean, because the death of Anton Yelchin was like so recent. I mean,
yeah.
since that was more recent, like that was the one that we felt the most going in. That when they reminded us of Spock's death, we're like, oh yeah, Leonard Nimoy too. Shit, that happened in between these two movies.
There you go. All right, so let's talk about a little controversy. And even the only reason I'm even bringing this up is because George Takei actually brought it up outside.
my.
Controversy.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Sulu's supposed domestic partner.
Well, I don't know if it's supposed. Like, you do see it in family context.
You see it in the family context.
And they did cut the kiss scene out, they said.
Right, but apparently the only reason I'm bringing this up is because in George Takei basically made the point is he didn't think that character
Takei
was
felt
gay.
it was a little demeaning
his
to
mind.
him as well, I think.
Correct.
Right.
And I'm in agreement with that. Like, they didn't need to be in there.
They just threw it in for brownie points.
Yes, they threw it in there because they wanted to pull a group in and say, "Oh, look, here's the gay couple."
They're
Hey,
the
LBGT.
Yeah, exactly.
We have something for you also.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
Okay, but here's the thing, and yes, I do in some respects. Like when Takei said that, I was like, you know what? Yeah, because when he said he only came out to like a few people, and Gene Roddenberry was one of the few, and he said, please keep this private. But that was when that Star Trek existed. And since then, we've come to know George Takei as being an LGBT crusader. He's the one person that I'm pretty sure that, I mean, even if you are kind of anti-gay in some way, that's the one person you're like, hey, he's awesome.
But I think from
Like
Takei's
Neil Patrick Harris.
standpoint, to make his character the gay character is kind of demeaning from him as an actor
I
standpoint.
get that, yeah.
Because he played a straight guy very well.
Like, don't get
Because
me
we
wrong.
didn't find out until after the series was over that he was gay.
that he was even gay in the first
Like,
place.
don't get me
Right,
wrong.
yeah.
Like, actually, I think how they did it in the film was actually well done. If you look
Yeah.
later on in the film, it actually does play to the fact that Sulu is concerned because his family is in Yorktown.
Mhm.
It does actually provide incentive for that character.
Yeah.
That being said, I actually do think that you probably could have easily done with one of the other characters and changed it over and not had some of the same controversy. of it.
And I think it doesn't mean that just because we're talking about this that makes us anti-gay necessarily. I think it just means if you're going to have a gay character, make it worth something. Make it worth make it a plot point,
or
or
You
make
could
it
have had
worth
a character that's
Well, like
introduced, or
a
had
new
a character that
Yeah,
might have been a little
like
easier.
like what Takei said, make it a new character.
Yeah,
That's what I thought they would do. Something that could carry on throughout the next Star Wars.
Either that,
make it
or
plot
have a
relevant.
character where it might have been easier to transition to.
precisely.
Because I mean, I haven't really watched the old series too much, but I don't think they ever presented Sulu in a way where
Nope.
They did.
that was
even,
something to consider.
Even in Generations, they said Sulu, had
They
a daughter.
had him kissing women,
Mm.
going
Oh
out
my.
with women.
The funny thing
Whatever-
is, like, the little
whoever
clips I have
Kirk
seen the
didn't
old
bang
scene,
on
like
the
you
ship.
have like Kirk like
Yeah.
screwing like random green aliens. Like if you're going to have a character that's a bit more open sexually, wouldn't it be Kirk?
I don't know.
No, okay.
If
So,
anything,
Once
so
again-
what you're saying is that Kirk might have an experimental phase in this timeline.
I'm not saying that's
Oh,
the
yeah,
case.
so-
I'm just saying
Well,
it
they-
seems
they-
like it'd
they
be an
did go-
easier
they did go-
transition.
The Vulcans have to mate every
Aaron,
7
you
years,
opened
and
up a
it's,
whole other can.
they did go camping.
Yeah.
the Vulcans
Okay.
have to mate every 7 years in order to live, and that's been getting close, Kirk, and you're starting to look pretty good.
We've heard that.
We're on year 3, baby.
Unfortunately, unfortunately, we've heard that storyline
In living color.
No, whatchamacallit at Leonard, not Leonard Nimoy, but Shatner roast.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to.
I've never actually seen any of the.
It wasn't bad. It
Uh,
was pretty good. You had the Uhura and
You had-
Takei roasting him.
Yeah,
And for the last time, Shatner,
It-
it's Takei, not Takai.
Well, what I'm referencing is the Andy
Dick.
character that he created,
The only-
which
the
is a
only-
love
the only
child
member-
between Kirk and Spock.
Like,
Cock.
Oh, okay.
The only memorable thing that Andy Dick's known for, other than being a complete tool.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Anyway, all right. So let's move on.
Oh, hold on.
No,
Steph's
no,
got,
Steph's got
Steph would
funny.
like to weigh in on this.
All right. I'm sorry. I thought you were good.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
As far as Sulu's character goes, they didn't really portray him as gay. You're reading. Let me talk. You're reading into it because that could have been like a brother taking care of his daughter or something like that. They only showed you a picture of his daughter sitting on the console.
I understand what you're saying, but to Brian's point, they took out.
They took out the kiss scene,
See.
and when they were walking away, he was walking with the hand on the small of his back of his brother, as holding his girl as they walk away.
Yeah.
That is not something a brother would do.
Well,
I'm just saying.
Simon Pegg.
Hey.
And Simon
As someone
Pegg
with a
even
brother,
said
that is
Simon
correct.
Pegg-
That is not something we do.
Simon Pegg did come out and say that the character
Oh,
is gay,
Aaron Bryan,
and
I
they
did see you walk.
and they did take
But
kiss scene out
I
and
mean,
stuff.
yeah, and I'm glad they took the kiss scene out because it didn't need to be there.
No, it did not.
It it didn't need to be there.
Yeah.
They didn't need to out him because they said, they were looking for a group of people or whatever. And if you're a Star Trek fan, you're a Star Trek fan, whether you're gay, straight, yellow, black,
Precisely.
white, whatever. You like the show.
Black on the left side with white on the right side, or white on the left side. and
Shut
black on...
up.
I remember the original series.
Anyway.
It's a good point. I don't know.
God. But no, I mean, they only showed you a picture of his daughter. So if you, and I know what you're saying that they came out and said he's gay. Well, going into the film, if you didn't read anything about it, you wouldn't have known that.
Right, but when they docked, when they first got to Yorktown, that's when you got to see the scene with
The family.
the family. Like it would have been different. Like if it had just been like his daughter running up to him and then them walking off. You're right. I never would have known that they were gay.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that they walked off like they were
and
kind of holding each other, like it was like.
well, there's only so much you can do in
And I
editing.
kind of wish that, and I kind of wish they had done that because that would have been like, oh, okay.
Really,
No.
I thought how they actually did it. Like, don't get me wrong, I think you can make an argument that Sulu may not have been the character you want to do, but it wasn't particularly outrageous or.
No,
it was
really,
pretty subtle.
It really wasn't.
Yeah.
But I think personally, I know he's gay, but I that didn't
You know
need
who's
to be
gay?
in the film.
Sulu?
Or TK.
It's okay.
Well, I mean, to be fair,
Because TK's gay, we know that.
I think
But Sulu's not.
I think the fact that because what
Well,
Steph's
apparently his now.
I mean, he is now, right?
well, what Steph's saying is like it's what we both read one day when I was reading the article that they said they showed a screening to George Takei.
I didn't read.
Well, I was read it too, but anyway, they showed the screening to Takei and he had his objections. But like you said, they cut the scenes, so that shows that there was something that they were trying to do to still kind of pay homage to him. But the problem is you're on set, you block it out, you have only so much that you cover. I mean, yeah, his hand's still at the small of his back. That was what the blocking was. They took out the kiss, but again, there's only so much you can cut out in the editing.
Right, and I wonder if it was when they showed it to him and he said, "No, I don't
Yeah.
want that in there. And this doesn't need to be in there." I wonder if it's Peg and Lynn were doing it as a homage to TK.
They probably were.
They
And
were.
they found out he was
that's
insulted.
why
and they're like, "Here, what do you think about this?" And he's like,
No.
"No, I don't like this at all." They're like, "Well, crap."
Shit.
Exactly.
So they kinda- yeah,
so there is some respect
they-
that they're still trying to
Like,
pay.
Right.
Yeah, well, there actually
let's
was
chop
an
this up a
article
little.
or a letter Peg actually wrote to Kai afterwards after
Yeah.
he voiced his complaints about it. More or less to that effect, I must.
Yeah.
No. So, all right. So let's get to my one sticking point in the movie.
Ooh. You say sticky or sticking?
So after
Sticking,
coming off
not
of that,
sticky.
you're saying sticky, huh?
I'm not using.
Go ahead.
I thought I saw your hand on the small of
Are
Aaron's
you
back.
coming to a point?
Did I use the
Are you-
word moist? Did I
coming-
use the word sticking? No, I said
Are you coming to a
sticking.
point?
Oh, sticking. Sticky point.
His point is coming. Steph, his point is...
Oh, it's coming.
It's coming. Wait for it. Wait for it.
What? And that
Liar.
is. Okay, so the one problem.
Oh, okay.
Jesus.
Sounds like a problem.
Is it back to
He's like, the one problem I had. Everyone gets it. That happens to everyone.
That is a problem. I've been meaning to bring something up to you about that.
Oh boy! All right, we're talking about
But go ahead.
darkness. All right. So once again,
Ew.
we have once again they destroy the Enterprise.
Yes.
Is that an issue?
Would you want to? I had a guy at work come up and actually make the joke and say, "Would you really want to go on a star trip with this guy? How many ships has he destroyed? How many times have they destroyed the Enterprise now?" And it's a good point. I mean,
Well, I mean,
they
we got
did
ships that,
they
fly
did it in
into
the
the
original
ocean every
movies.
couple
They did it in
years.
Generations. They
Right, but they
destroyed
keep
the-
They
rebuilding
did
it
in
better.
3. They did in part 3 as well.
Right, exactly.
But they keep rebuilding it
But
better.
that's why they keep rebuilding
Yeah,
it, getting
there's-
Osmer, Osmer.
Like,
Yeah.
like that Jimmy Fallon, bigger, faster, stronger.
Well, no, there's as my friend Brad.
Isn't that a Daft Punk song?
Yes,
Yes.
But Jimmy Fallon does it all the time on the show.
Oh, okay.
So Daft Punk did it, but it's Jimmy Fallon's.
It's
now.
Jimmy Fallon's now because he does it on the show.
Well, anyway, I've got a friend who enjoys doing model building, and yeah, he's told me before there are multiple versions of the Enterprise.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I mean, Kirk is responsible for now two destructions of the
destructions.
Enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
However, Commander Riker, whenever he gets the captain's chair, he's responsible for more destructions of the Enterprise than Kirk is. So the Enterprise has been destroyed before and rebuilt. So
Well, sure, but I'm just saying, it just seems like,
generation.
is it becoming? It's overdone. I don't know. It's been, how many times can you destroy
Well,
the
at
ship?
least it doesn't happen to every movie, though.
It doesn't, but it's like, oh god, again.
Well, I mean, if you look at the number of car crashes that happen every year,
But you
people
know
still
what?
drive cars.
Yes,
I know,
people
but-
still drive Saturns.
But you know what?
Those things fall apart all the time. Just
Those
there's
little
Birchie.
transition cars.
Just that's Birchie.
And there's the Birchie reference.
No,
That's the Ford acronym, Found on Road Dead.
No, my. I got hit for doing a Berkshire impression.
Yep, rightfully so. All right.
Nah.
But no, Brian, to your point,
The way
I don't think it's overdone.
You don't think so?
No, because the way they're it'd be different. It'd be one thing if it just was getting blown up for no reason and they just got another ship. But they're actually using it to move the story along or as a major piece. So
It's
But
not like
the
it crashes
way-
like 5 times in the
But at
movie.
least,
Right.
At least in Generations, they got a whole new, different kind of ship. This time, just like in the original Star Trek, it's the same fucking ship.
true. I would like to have seen a different
Slightly
class.
different.
It's not necessarily the same ship. It's just the same model ship.
It's got an A on the end of it, just like they did in the original series. Which
Yeah.
at the end of Star Trek 5, you got these.
Are we up to Z now or something? Is that what you're
Well,
saying?
what I'm trying to say is, do something with it. It's a new kind of ship
Well, yeah.
that they're building a new ship that's better.
It's like, well, they got to get eventually
exactly the same.
Generations. I like their Star Ship better. Anyway,
But yeah,
The way that they destroyed this ship was so
I'll agree.
freaking amazing.
They did-
Badass.
Yeah, they
never
they
done
did-
before.
I mean, this enemy that they had in this film, and they said it. They called it in the film. It's like a B formation. It's a swarm.
It's a hive,
And the
yeah.
way
It
that,
actually reminded me of piranhas just swimming through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and dolphins or fish or anything like that. Yeah.
Those therapists.
dolphins.
Anyway.
Dolphins are fish, or butterflies are unicorns.
Rapists.
Anyway.
I thought
the
we
way,
went off
the way that the Enterprise was destroyed, and don't get me wrong, I'm sad that it happened, but it has to happen because they have to get a new ship like every film, like you said.
Every other.
But
yeah.
this was amazing. I mean, you had like billions of
Billions and billions of bumblebees.
Yeah, they did it so methodically. They started with
Granted,
the
granted it
engines
was
and went
CG.
down like.
Granted, it was CG. Are you gonna fall asleep, Bobby?
No, I'm gonna sneeze, but go ahead. I'm sorry. Now I don't have to.
It was really
Bless you.
cool, and it basically tore the ship apart, and then it opened up like the freaking what?
The hull. You know, not just the hull,
No,
but like the
no.
bridge.
I'm talking about like it was like
Well,
it slammed in, and then doors opened up, and these
Oh yeah,
the
it's
aliens came out.
like they would puncture the needle through the hole, and then they would open up inside the ship and like let the warriors
and,
or whatever,
and
like
each
the two
each
pilots.
plane was a
It
two-person
was a two-man
plane.
ship. Yeah, I mean they were so small. Yeah, like you said, there's like a piranhas or like bees or a swarm flying
Leeches.
through, and
Leeches.
you know,
That's
yeah.
a good point.
But what was neat was like it wasn't just like in the trailer. You see this thing go through and just destroy the ship. You're like, oh man, that quick. But like, no, they did it methodically. Like they did it like there went the engines, no warp drive. There went the bridge. None
they
of
took
this.
it down
Like,
piece
they
by
took it
piece.
piece by piece.
Yeah, they're like-
so amazing.
Because you didn't
cut off its head.
right.
Yeah.
And the thing is you didn't know why it was attacking all these separate pieces by itself until you got to the end of the film, and you're like, oh,
and you realize,
He's the one
wow,
controlling
yeah.
them on one frequency.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not only that too, but like we're so used to the shields up, to, go to the photon torpedoes, and they had
shields went up, and then they
shields
came
went up, and they
really
still went through. I mean,
and then they came crashing down.
yeah, exactly. I mean, they knew what they were doing, and that's what made this threat so.
To the point, I did like how they used it. They used all the ship. I mean, even after the saucer section landed, they kept using the ship.
Let's not forget
until the end.
that slide scene in the end, like or towards the middle, like sliding down the hull of the Enterprise. That was sweet.
Yeah.
That was a sweet action scene.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. They did do it well. I'll give them that. I was just like, again.
But no, I really wish they would have got a different ship, like a different class.
Yeah,
ship.
I would have liked to have
Like,
seen the B.
here's your new Enterprise that's...
Well, we could have the Voyager-looking ship, which looks
No,
like
that
a
was
dating spade.
No, not Voyager. Fuck
Not Voyager. I really like Star Trek Next Generation. I really like their Star Trek.
Yeah.
Like their ship.
I would have liked to have seen the B class, which was Excelsior class. Anyway, I'm getting real nerdy. Speaking of nerdy,
We're talking about Star Trek. I don't think there's any way you can't be nerdy
so
about
let's
it. Let's do it.
let's get into nerdy. They actually use an NX class starship, which, if you ever watched Enterprise TV series is actually the predecessor to the ship that they used on the Enterprise TV series. So, which
The
was
old
kind of
TV series or the
no,
Scott Bakula?
the Scott Bakula
Murdered the
last
franchise.
the last
Yes, that one.
Star
Ready
Trek
to
series
kill
on
the
TV.
franchise.
The one that
Bakula.
nobody watched.
Actually,
my father.
I did. It was
Besides
Except my dad.
Yeah.
You know, I watched it. It was good. I watched it on Netflix after the fact, but it was actually really,
It gave me
really
actually
good.
one of my favorite George Takei lines from Futurama, where he's like, Takei's head's ramming Bakula's head against the wall, going, "Way to kill the franchise, Bakula!"
But it is actually. I would recommend if you haven't watched the series, get on Netflix and watch all 70 or not 70, but whatever it is. It's only
17.
like 17. No,
It was like one or
There
two
was one too
seasons.
many.
There's 2 seasons.
This
Anyway,
review of this series on Netflix was brought to you by Willowbreak.
anyway, it's worth it. It's good. It's a good series. And it was nice. I liked how they threw.
There's another Netflix series I'm gonna like currently obsess over right
Stop
now.
it.
It's not the time or place.
Not now.
No.
But yeah, I thought it was a nice little bone to throw to those people who actually did watch the Enterprise TV series. It was good. It was great. Okay.
But there is another Star Trek series in the works.
There
right now.
is, and I don't know much about it.
Star Wars too.
Yep. Thank God.
That's
I saw
another
that
one.
one.
I
I
love
saw that.
Star Trek.
Is that ABC?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
The
Keep
Disney-
going.
the Disney
CBS,
company.
Yeah,
CBS
keep
is
going.
doing Star Trek.
Yep. Keep going.
Okay,
Yeah.
where we go?
Thank you for bringing in the Star
No-
Wars.
no
reference.
problem.
It wasn't
No,
me this time.
Yeah.
No problem, man. No problem, man.
All right. So, anybody else got any other comments on the NX class starship other than me? Because I'm apparently the only one.
Well, no. I mean, I really liked. I liked the fact that it was a show that it was an older ship. They had no idea it was still there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They thought it was lost, and here it was basically the mountain had collapsed around it, so that everything it didn't look like.
Well, she had
Well,
like
no,
the
she also
image.
had
Right. She had that around it, but
Bloody's
like
right. The mountain had grown around it
Yeah.
for so long. Yeah.
it was kind of cool. I mean, I thought it was badass, and
It
I was like,
pretty cool, yeah.
But I have a question. Have we talked about the bad guy yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. No.
Okay, it was his ship, correct?
Yes, there was a captain's.
Then how
spoiler
does he
alert.
not realize that that's still there?
because of
very
how
bad memory.
He just.
I was gonna say because of how many years it had been.
Yeah, it's been like
He
hundreds
probably
of
thinks
years.
it doesn't even work anymore. She's the one that brought it back to life.
Oh, right. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm aware.
You're breaking my
It
home.
looked bad when you first see it in the movie. Before the movie, looked like shit.
So, all right. So let's talk about one of my favorite parts of this movie: the return of Bones and Spock, the back and forth,
Oh,
back and forth. Talk about it being Star Trek. I don't think it gets any better than this. If you ever watched the original series, you ever watched the back and forth between Nimoy and
Your
the
green-blooded
Force Kelly?
hobgoblin.
Yeah, there it is. Back, they put them together. They're in a hopeless situation together. Back and forth. I loved every second of it. What do you guys think?
I was disappointed that they put the one part into the trailer. Like,
Oh, the one where he's like, it's just you and me. And
yeah, at least I'm not gonna die alone.
Yeah,
and then he
yeah.
leaves. And he's like, oh, great. I really wish they wouldn't have put that in there. But like you said, I really enjoyed all of it. But I
Yeah.
wish that part wouldn't have been in the trailer
Yeah.
because that was one of the funnier parts.
Because, yeah, I mean, they actually, well, as we were talking about, as the Enterprise is being destroyed, cut off the head, and the ship crashes, all of the crew is scattered. And that's what makes the script so great, is the fact that each of them are allowed to develop their own story. You have Kirk and
Chekhov.
Scotty?
Chekhov. Yeah, Kirk and Chekhov on their side. You have Spock and Bones on their side. You have
Scotty by itself. by
Scotty,
himself.
yeah, Scotty by himself, discovering
was
the new
who?
alert. Does Jalen or
J-Lo.
J-Lo.
Jayla?
In my head, it's just
But-
a space
but-
elf.
Yeah, space
But
Elf.
it's,
but it's played by the girl from Kingsman with no legs.
Yeah, it is. Actually.
Oh, it's-
I looked.
it
I,
was.
I didn't
I looked
realize
her
that.
up.
Yeah, that was
That was
makeup.
actually really cool.
Makeup
And
lady.
again, another award that I hope it's remembered for, the makeup in this movie, because the makeup was amazing. But yeah, like each of them had their own story to develop, and yeah, like when you have Bones and Spock,
It
you
doesn't
know,
get any more Star Trek than that.
It doesn't get any more. No, and the funny thing is
Only if you add Kirk to that mix, yeah.
and I'm glad they threw that in. And I think one of the things they talked about and was the fact that for a while, like this just came out, Carl Urban almost was not going to come back for this movie.
That would
Like
have
he
been
actually,
horrible.
yeah, well, because he said after Into Darkness he felt marginalized. Like his character was almost cut completely out. Because if you think about it, the only people in Into Darkness that you remember really are Spock and Kirk. That was it. Like
And Khan.
the-
Yeah.
And Khan. That's it.
Yeah.
You don't remember
And Uhura.
it because the rest of them were all about. The other movies are all about the whole crew, and then that's what this movie allowed it to do. And then when you have the Bones
Oh, but
and
back and
Spock
forth.
back and forth, yeah, like Justin Lin actually sat Carl Urban down and said, "Hey," I mean, because he was about ready to take another role, and he was going to say, "All right, well, I can't do this movie because I'm doing another film."
Yeah,
Justin Lin
he's
sat him
forward.
down and said, "Hey, just to let you know, I'm a huge fan of the entire franchise," and he said, "This is what I'm going to do with Bones." And the second Carl Urban heard that, he went, "Okay, I'm on board."
Yeah. What do you think, Aaron? I mean, I know
it-
you're not, you don't know much about.
Yeah,
the
I
original
can't really
series.
compare it to the older series, but no, it is amusing dialogue. They do seem to have a good back and forth.
Yeah.
I mean, the scene where you more or less have Bone just kind of, sealing up the wound for Spock was actually pretty humorous.
Yeah. Did you enjoy it because not knowing any background? But
Yeah,
obviously,
it's even without the background, it's still an enjoyable back and forth in dialogue.
Okay, Brian.
I already talked about
Yeah,
it.
we're talking. Okay.
Stephanie.
anything else?
But yeah, as far as Bones and Spock goes, yes, you needed that. It was missing. It's been missing for the last 2 other movies, and I'm glad they finally said, "Hey, we're gonna do this." But you also got the Bones and Kirk connection too, and that needs to be there also because the 3 of them they're like the closest 3 on the ship.
Oh yeah, they're the big 3 in the series. Or they
Yeah,
always were.
they are the big 3. Then there's Scotty and Sulu and Chekhov and Uhura in that order probably. But you had to have the Kirk Bones moment where they were talking about Kirk's birthday and Bones stole Chekhov's,
His
vodka.
So is
vodka, but it wasn't vodka.
Oh no, wait, it was
Vodka.
whiskey or something, wasn't it?
Yeah,
He's like, I thought he was a vodka man.
Yeah.
I thought it was Scotch because later
Yeah, it
on
was
in the
Scotch,
movie,
yeah.
later on in the movie, he's joking about how Scotch was made by an old Russian woman,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's like,
trying to justify
But,
it.
but it was really you needed that Kirk Bones moment also because that's part of Star Trek. You needed that Spock Bones moment, and oh my God, what a moment! That was fantastic.
Oh, the whole thing was great.
I mean, Bones basically ripped Spock a new one for even thinking about leaving,
yeah.
and he's like,
Yeah.
have you even told Jim? No. it
oh
didn't
yeah,
come
that
up
was
yet.
another big plot
It
point.
didn't come up yet, but in the other flip side is you find out Jim's wanting to leave also because he's thinking about his own mortality and wants to live because he thinks that the same thing that happened to his dad is going to happen to him, and he doesn't want that. But he's
Is
like,
that why?
Well, he's really
Yeah.
he's also thinking about why is he why is he there?
yeah,
Yeah.
he joined
On a
joined
dare.
He joined
the
Starfleet
fleet on a dare,
Yeah.
and everyone else joined it for a reason.
Right.
Yeah.
He
A
hadn't
valid
found it yet.
reason.
Kirk's trying to find his reason.
Well, yeah,
You know?
I thought it was because he's heard all the stories of captains losing themselves and everything else because that's how it played into the captain of the other one, and he's like, in the very beginning, hearing you hear that story, he's like, I want to be like this captain, which turned out to be the bad guy anyway. But
Right.
But
they said lose yourself as a captain and everything else, and he's like we've only been we did this small one, the next one will be bigger and longer, and lose yourself in
Uncut.
space and
Yeah.
You know-
Exactly.
And in what you were saying, Steph, the ending of this movie, because like you're saying, both Kirk and Spock were kind of on the same mentality of like, Spock wants to leave because he thinks he has to, continue his race. That's the whole reason he wants to leave Starfleet. He's like, I need to preserve my race. And then Kirk wants to leave for what we were talking about. And there's such a beautiful moment at the end when, like you were saying, Steph, like Bones is telling him, Kirk needs you. We all need you, and it's reminding everybody how cohesive of a group
you need
they
him.
are.
Yeah.
And then both of them, when they decide to stay in Starfleet, and they're at Jim's birthday party in the end, and they both look at each other and they have that same moment. He's like, "Oh, that moment you wanted to talk to me about, Spock. Did you? Was that what you want to talk about?"
No,
and they both say the same thing.
because he brought up the Ambassador Spock thing. He goes,
Yeah.
"I'm really sorry
It's
about."
like, oh yeah, I'm really sorry about
Spock."
Ambassador Spock. He's like, "Is that what you wanted to talk to me about?"
Yeah.
Yep.
And he goes,
A little
"More or
bit.
less."
More or less.
Well,
And
yeah.
then Kirk says the same thing. He's like, "Oh, how would your meeting go?" Is that
No,
what you
Spock
want?
says the same thing.
Spock says the same thing, and he goes, "More or less." And they both say the same thing without directly saying what it was about, and they both look at each other, and they both know that they had the same resolution. And like you said, they have that camaraderie. you feel it. Oh, it felt
Well,
so good.
it's
Your mother's name's Martha too.
Why did you say that?
Best
That
friends
was-
forever.
That's why you don't need to say it, because this moment in Star Trek worked beautifully, and Batman Superman's a punchline.
Yeah, and they were about to tell each other earlier in the movie too that they were going separate ways, and they
Right.
didn't get a chance.
Well,
Funny.
I don't think they were able to.
Well, probably weren't ready yet either.
They
but,
weren't ready to say it to each other. and
But the events.
they weren't sure.
Yeah, but events took over too. So.
But as far as going back to like the Bone Spock thing,
Mm-hmm.
yes, that needed to be.
Oh, it was so Star Trek. That's for me. That's what made the movie Star Trek for me. Really did. I mean that whole dynamic.
I think the unity of the crew is what made it for me.
There you go. All right, let's talk about real briefly. Let's talk about Kirk on the motorcycle. I loved it.
I'm gonna go brief on
I
this.
love Kirk as James Dean. That's what I thought the whole time. Action James Dean,
That
or
was
Chuck
freaking-
Norris. I don't know. It
that
was
was freaking amazing.
pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I like the fact that he used the other one's technology to make himself.
The
and
hologram.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, the
Taylor's
holograms
like
was the bit that actually
that was
made
so
that work
cool.
for me.
Yeah, badass.
It's not even so much James Dean. It's to me because of like how old-fashioned the motorcycle was. It reminded me of like Steve McQueen in The Great Escape.
Yeah,
with
that
that
would be
motorcycle
another
driving
good
around.
comparison.
Yeah,
Very much so.
I mean, he rode a motorcycle on the first one too.
yeah,
well, yeah. This is what
that's
was a
true.
great nod right back to.
Yeah.
That was bad.
And I also like the flashback scene of him in the convertible, and he flips the top, and the top flies
From
up.
like the very first one. Yeah,
Yeah.
and well, because it was the right. When I in this one,
That's
No,
not the
I
first.
watched
That's
them
the
all on the
very
same
first
day.
one.
That's the
I
first.
watched them all.
blended together.
It was all blended together for me.
I was like the flip top. Was
Yeah.
That was like the very first one.
Yeah, well, that's what I watched them all on the same day because Caitlin hadn't seen them yet.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's why I was like, and the sabotage thing from the first one. Yeah,
But speaking of sabotage, I loved how they used sabotage. I thought it could have gone terribly wrong and
I
terribly
went-
cheesy.
I went fucking nuts because I was so happy.
But I thought that was great use. That was using science, that's the science behind it, and using sabotage, connecting to modern generation, modern time.
Let's talk about like how it built up to it too.
Yeah.
Because originally, when you have the first time you hear like any kind of in this universe period music, is when Jayla's and Scotty are fixing the ship, and yeah, she's they're playing Public Enemy's "Fight the Power," and he's like, "Is that classical music?" And she's like, "I like the shouting and I like the beat. It distracts me." And then then later on, like what Steph and Aaron were saying, like you discover that these ships basically have like the hive mentality. They all communicate on the same wavelength, and any kind of sound would disrupt that. So, I mean, I was expecting to hear "Fight the Power" again, which I thought would have been pretty cool. But then the second she
Sabotage.
plugs in that
Perfect.
thing and Sabotage came out, and then they even bring up the plot hole from the first part. One of them goes, "Is that classical music?" I was like, "Thank you! It is classical music. It's 300 years old in this universe."
It's hilarious.
But it's perfect.
It's
I mean,
hilarious.
full
It's perfect.
surround sound, and then like the moment Starfleet in Yorktown picks up, it's like, "Oh, I'm getting the signal. Hey, let's put it on our loudspeakers." And it's that moment where they're like, "Wow!"
It's the
And that
climax of the song. Yeah.
Oh my god, it was timed so perfectly. It was like a Gene Kelly musical in space blowing up.
We sat there. I sat there, and they turned it on. I was like, "Fuck yeah!"
Exactly.
Yes.
I'm like, "This is beautiful."
Because I've
'Cause-
rocked out to that
Well,
song
what's
in my
so
own
fun?
car.
What's so cool about it is, they're playing Sabotage, and it looks like a goddamn wave coming up, and they're surfing it.
It's a it's a
surfing
wave of
the
explosions as they're breaking
It's
all the ships,
amazing.
disrupting it. Yeah, and it's said
Sorry.
that, even though it's a bit of a plot hole in the original reboot, knowing that Kirk's playing Sabotage, it's still a cool moment.
I
but
thought-
it brings that awesome moment back again, and is his own awesome moment.
I think
here.
it's a perfect piece. It's a perfect connection to the modern generation, to my generation anyway. I mean, Brian, I'm sure you jammed out to the song.
Oh, yeah.
We did. You know.
Every time it
Definitely.
comes on, I keep wanting to I wish I had a red convertible on
Yeah.
a cliff at the time.
Okay.
Aaron, what do you think of it? You're younger. You're a little younger than the rest
No,
of
well,
us.
I mean, I still heard the song growing up. I enjoy
Yeah.
it. Don't get me wrong, I do find the actual funny that's the song they use to sabotage the ships is actually sabotage.
Sabotage. Yeah.
So there is something kind of humorous about that. But yeah, it was a cool scene, and yeah, it's definitely a fast-paced song. It's easy to get into.
And speaking,
Nice choice.
And I just got to bring this up real quick. how lucky is that bastard from Heroes that gets to be in fucking Star Wars?
I actually
Star
thought the
Trek?
same thing. It's like,
you
wow.
mother-
Well,
you-
and Simon Pegg is too.
I know.
Yeah.
and the funny thing
But
is,
you don't see Simon Pegg. You see him.
yeah, the joke is, isn't it like he's a friend of J.J. Abrams,
Yes,
and that's
he's-
how he
he's
actually got
J.J.
into
Abrams'
both
best friend growing up.
And didn't J.J. Abrams actually help him writ a comic book or some shit?
I think
Yeah.
so. Either way,
Was that what it was?
Lucky
Or
Lucky
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 shit.
Lucky bastard. He's talking about riding coattails.
I know, right? I was like, he's
I
Don't
don't
get me wrong, I
know.
actually
People
liked
the
him in
nerds,
Heroes,
for
but
God's
it's
sake.
still funny.
Like-
They're actually, both the guy that plays Spock also was in Heroes
Yeah.
as well.
Yes,
yeah,
it was,
that's
that's
the,
right.
I was gonna say. Yeah.
Zachary Quinto.
Zachary
Yeah.
That was the connection they had for when he got his part.
But still, I was like, you lucky bastard. It's Star Wars and Star Trek. And he gets to play a cool role in both. I'm like, you motherfucker.
Well, an okay role in both.
Okay.
Still, he gets to fly an
kind of
X-Wing.
It's
He
the
gets-
fact that he's in both. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's the commander of the new cool star base.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like he
Of
gets
the,
an
of the
okay
air ventilation
role.
system.
yeah.
he's the the control room guy.
Still. I just had to bring
He's
it
the
up real
control
quick.
room guy
Shields
and the
up.
fighter pilot.
Yeah.
Asshole.
Oh, yeah.
He did an okay job in Heroes.
Ryan.
Greg Grunier or whatever his last name is.
Yeah.
This guy here in Four Midwest Guys hates you.
I hate you. I envy you.
I envy you. I want your life.
Yeah.
It's not that he hates you so much as he
As
just
he
wants
wants
to
your
be
life.
in that position.
Exactly.
He's gonna go all Siler on you and take your power.
Motherfucker.
He will cut off your face and wear it as his own.
He's gonna.
Let's not get too crazy.
Leatherface. Yay.
Not so much Leatherface. I think he's going Game of Thrones over there. Anyway.
Well, in my head, it's a bit of New 52 Joker meets the villain from Silence of the Lambs.
Moving on.
All right.
Lame.
All right. So let's
I
talk
could
about
reference Repo the Genetic Opera. Is that better?
Yes.
one more
Okay.
point, and I know this is one that Mr. Ankbauer would talk about. No Carol Marcus in this movie. We saw her in the end of the last one. Said she was a member of the crew. Nowhere to be found.
Yeah, and this one, who knows if she got one of those escape pods or something? They just didn't show her.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things like,
Well, she wasn't at the party either. So.
Yeah, it was like what, yeah,
Clearly,
exactly.
this could be the next episode, just her on a planet by herself.
Like she's in her own little room. She's like, I wasn't even aware there was a party.
Hey, Kirk's
Steph
love
is-
interest. I mean, we both know
Steph
that.
is silently chiming in here.
No,
she's
I'm
not.
Hello, knocking. Where am I?
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
she could be on that other planet developing. Was it
Genesis.
Yeah, she's developing Genesis.
That
so
would have been
that,
cool. That would have been
Khan-
kind of a cool little notch
Yeah.
if they had shown her like off on a special project or something.
Maybe she is. Maybe she's
Well,
on New Vulcan.
again, we're flying into a nebula, so
Right. It would have
You
been
know,
kind of
she-
cool.
they flew into a nebula with Khan as well.
All they could have had was like a little 2-second blur between her and Kirk and her working on a
But-
secret project.
But here's the thing: Marcus also has a son with Kirk, so
Right. They have to
that
go.
would, yeah.
Yeah.
Who would be killed by Judge Doom?
Anyway,
Yes.
moving on.
Anyway. Actually, he gets killed by a member of Christopher Lloyd's.
That's what I meant, Judge.
Yeah.
Crossing my
Moving
East
on.
bases
Okay.
here.
All right, so let's move on just real quick. I think we're all probably going to be on the same page here, but let's just talk about how did you think Mr. Lin did as a director, Aaron?
Actually, pretty well. Like, I'm not a huge Fast and Furious fan. Like, actually, I hate that franchise. But at the same time, I actually... Oh, I do hate the Fast and Furious. I hate Fast and Furious. I hate Transformers. I dislike them both.
I don't think you've offended her so much on the Transformers thing as you like wounded her in the core of Fast and
No,
Furious.
I understand people like it. Feel
No.
free, and it's their...
It's fine.
Just, it's a personal opinion there. That being said, I actually thought he did very well in this film. He took a lot of the more fast-paced action from that franchise and really translated into the Star Trek universe very well.
Okay, Brian?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I really like the way he did this movie, and I hope he does another one.
Yeah, I for myself personally, I wasn't too sure because of Fast and Furious. I was like, Fast and Furious meets Star Trek. Wasn't sure how it was going to go, and I was pleasantly.
The Enterprise rolls up with rims.
Yeah, it's got neon on the bottom of it.
All right,
We
I'm
see
going
like
to
a
race
close-
you for your ship.
Yeah.
We see a close-up of the warp drive as the camera goes right
Big
through the
flips are
entire
out. Big
engine.
flips are out.
It made the Kessel Run. Oh wait, that's the wrong franchise. Anyway, but yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by it. So I would love if he did another one. Honestly, that's how pleasant.
I can't wait to see where he goes from here. I really can.
Yeah,
Anything he does, I'll probably go see.
I wouldn't mind. I would actually wouldn't mind him helming maybe Maybe
Star Wars.
a Star Wars movie,
Ooh.
maybe a standalone.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind.
We don't need, was it
Yeah,
Colin
I-
Trevorrow?
You actually want to
or
see him do the
whoever
Kessel
hell's-
Run.
I would if he did
Oh,
the Kessel
God.
Run. Be badass.
That's it. That's the next. We don't need the.
That's the spin-off. There's no Han Solo.
There's
It's
no Han
just the
Solo
Kessel
spin-off.
Run.
It's Justin Lin directing the Kessel Run.
It's called the Kessel Run.
Kessel Run Fury Road.
And every Trekkie listening out there is going, "Fuck! It's They're talking about Star Wars again." Anyway, I don't care.
Well, to be fair, I mean, this is. I mean,
there has been a melding of the pot.
Well, and also the reboots have kind of made it less metaphorical and more science fantasy than science fiction.
Sure.
But to touch on your thing about Justin Lin, I mean, I was kind of worried at first because, yeah, like you said, hybriding the Fast and Furious mentality with Star Trek. To be fair, I mean, considering every one of those Fast and Furious movies that Justin Lin has done, this is like very restrained for him as far as like action goes, but it doesn't take away from the action any less because it feels like there's room to breathe for the story. And knowing that he was a lifelong Trekkie, actually you felt that in every frame of this movie.
Yeah, definitely. It was
Yeah.
definitely there.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, he should come back for a lot more in this franchise.
I agree. All right. I think we'll probably all be on the same page here as well. In fact, was it true to characters? I'm going to say absolutely dead on. I don't see how it couldn't have been. I don't know, John. Any other thoughts on it?
No,
Maybe.
I mean, like I said, I mean, now that we're in like the reboot new universe, we've hybrided perfectly with the old characters and the new characters. I mean, like the actors are now comfortable in their roles, but they're also very comfortable playing such iconic characters too.
Exactly. Steph.
I think they did a great job.
Yeah.
Yep.
Could have
Same
said
here.
better. All right, Aaron. Brian. Anything else to add?
No, other than the Takai thing, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I don't think Sulu. What that's.
Yeah, that's true.
But all the rest
That's
of
a good
them,
point.
yeah, they hit all the.
I think it'd be neat to see Sulu cross through the wormhole that Spock did, and now
And then-
old
and
Sulu's
then-
sitting there
and
going, "Oh, so I'm gay in this universe, huh?"
Yeah, and Sulu comes through and smacks him in the face. What the fuck?
pulls out.
Listen here,
Pulls
but-
out his fencing sword.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I find it offensive that because I'm of Japanese ancestry, you think I know karate.
Don't forget the
All right. So we're an hour and 5 minutes in, guys. So these need to be quick round table questions.
Never.
Got
So
it.
let's go.
Go.
Number one, favorite quotes, Brian.
Go!
Hey, quotes.
You said you're ready.
I wasn't ready for these.
Go Justin Lin pace here.
No shit. Favorite quotes?
Well, next one is favorite characters, then moments, and then least favorite moments. So be ready.
Do you remember any of the
There's
quotes?
our friend.
Yeah, I don't remember any of the quotes.
You don't remember any quotes?
Nope.
None at all?
Nope.
All right. John?
Nice choice.
Nice choice.
I mean, that was just a close up of Kirk's face saying that line when Sabotage played.
Okay.
That's the one that comes to mind right now.
Steph?
My favorite quote was when the woman who you thought was good was actually bad. She goes, "Do you believe every side story you hear?"
Oh.
And Kirk goes, "No." And
Where's that?
and at that point, like basically sails the ship with Chekhov, and Chekhov shooting at her, and he gets away. So
Oh, yeah.
That's a good
I
one.
thought
that was a
fucking
great
awesome.
moment too.
Aaron?
Towards the end of the scene, you see that small little alien thing again, and he actually hacks one of the shirts. So you have that still not wearing pants line.
Yeah. It's a good
Yeah,
one.
that was a good one.
that was
I
good.
like the green button hobgoblin.
The Green House. I was going to say that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any of the Spock, Kirk moments, quotes are definitely
The Spock Bones moments.
Oh,
God,
you
yeah.
wanted little Vulcans, and Alvaro didn't want it. I see why she's leaving you now.
You know, when they say it's not you, it's me.
It's really
In this case, it's really you.
Yeah.
No. Oh, Mike. Okay.
I also like the one with, I also like the one with the necklace.
Yeah,
Yes.
Mike. I was gonna say, you got your girlfriend a Vulcan tracking device. No, it was a gift. You gifted your girlfriend a Vulcan tracking device. A radioactive tracking device.
Radioactive
Yeah.
tracking. It only lets out trace amounts of radioactivity. It's not dangerous.
Oh my god, that was
Yeah,
fucking
pretty-
hilarious.
They
Pretty
do
much
have that
any
moment
given-
of silence.
Any given line between Bones and Spock in this are gold.
Okay.
Next.
Favorite characters, Brian?
My favorite character. Well, I like Kirk. in
Kirk.
This one.
Yes. nothing wrong with that, man.
I like the space elf. I don't remember her name.
Space
J-Lo.
Elf, J-Lo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bones.
Bones, yeah.
Always my favorite. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, J-Lo was a great new character, but Bones, dear God, he stole the show on this one.
I agree. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Bones and Spock.
Oh, we can have two?
Well, I said Bones and J-Lo.
Scotty.
Scotty.
Yeah,
Okay.
Dude.
Hell yeah.
But
Way to go, Ryder. Write yourself a good role.
The Bones Spock stuff is just it's great. And Scotty's good too.
Scotty.
So
And Simon
Yeah.
Pegg.
Oh,
God love
yeah.
you, Simon Pegg.
The whole bringing somebody in with the teleporter.
mhm.
What was it? He said he's like, I've never used this equipment. It's so old. He goes, I might have like fused you together if I brought you at the same time. And Bones was like, oh God.
You and Spock stuck together.
Yeah.
Can't think of a worse fate.
I would say that must be your favorite moment, which is our next question.
Yeah.
What was your favorite moment?
Oh, mine. Oh, God. That sabotage
Start
moment.
thinking about it.
Yeah.
You know what? The sabotage moment was great, but I'm actually going to throw a nod to a really well-designed action scene at the end with our villain and Kirk in that strange zero-gravity scene, that little fight that kept, like, bouncing
The
off the
airlock.
Son of a
buildings.
bitch.
The airlock.
And
You also like where he
God,
jumps
that
into
was
like the
great.
gravity stream.
Honestly,
Yeah.
My favorite moment was towards the end where Spock is going through his box of items that he left himself,
Oh, wow.
and he pulls out the picture of the old crew.
Yeah.
That had absolutely no words for me. It was perfect.
Teared up, didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
did she
did. I
ever?
cried. I cried.
There's very few times that...
You cried in an action movie? Wimp.
Yeah.
Wimp.
Aaron?
For me, it's probably between the opening sequence with the play on size, or when you first see kind of the ships that pierce through the Star Trek's main
Yeah.
ship.
Ship, yeah.
Yeah.
See him going. Yep.
Yeah. Mine was going to be the one where they were going through the gravity stuff.
Yeah.
It can
That
still
was-
be that one.
No, it's not. Not going to be anymore.
Okay.
There could be...
But I also did like the rebuild, where they rebuilt the
Watch them
watch them
the
rebuild
ship.
the whole ship. That was kind
That
of
was
cool
pretty
too.
cool. Mine's going to be a little different. I'm just going to say that Yorktown space station scene entering is just freaking badass. Not much is even said. It's just all special effects. But
And great set design.
Yeah,
too.
just-
the set designer really.
Well,
needs
the way
some
that they-
talk about like it expanded my all of a sudden I said, oh my god, they can actually do that, and then my mind just like
The
you
way
know.
the way that
I wonder
they
if one day they'll
used-
touch the
and-
Jedi's.
The way that they used the way the Franklin went into the tunnel or under the water and used
came up
itself
through it.
Oh
and used
man,
itself
just
to
like
block
Yep,
the three ships.
yep.
That was amazing.
that was badass.
I hate to say, I mean, Idris Elba. When you're saying that, I kept trying to think of his character's name in that, and the only thing I could think of is the Red Dwarf character. I want to keep calling him Queeg.
No.
All right, let's go to the other end of the spectrum. Anybody have a least favorite moment? I'm just gonna throw it out there. I can't really think of one honestly, but
The beginning scene, like
Oh.
just the very first scene, like Steph said, it felt so awkwardly paced.
I loved it.
Killing the girl.
Killing the girl.
Killing the girl.
Oh, the
That was
she
hiding-
had the thing in her
That was
head.
hiding the thing in her head.
Yeah,
Killing her, I was like-
harsh, but
yeah.
Okay, it wasn't my favorite scene, so I'm allowed to have that.
she gets so against, like she starts getting so spiteful of me.
You just gotta remember you're the asshole.
I know, I'm always the asshole.
All right. I'll actually, now that I think about it, that whole, and I've talked about this, I think, off show. Probably because I didn't really see it right, maybe, but they had the two people hanging, and he's touching them and taking their DNA and making it his own. I just didn't get it. I was just like, it was lost on me, I guess, but I didn't really care for it.
That's how he survived.
I know that's how he survived, but
That's
it just
how he
looked,
stayed young.
to me, it looked cheesy. I was just like,
The tubes. It was definitely the
tubes,
maybe,
and
or-
yeah, it just, I don't know. It looked like something out
It
of
looked 90s.
looks like something out of a bee.
Just let me suck your essence out with a straw.
Yeah, really, yeah, kind of. Aaron, did you have a least favorite movie?
No, there's not really anything that stands out.
Okay.
Mine was with the original scavengers that Scotty ran into.
The original, that first trio. Or
Yeah, like
whatever.
and
And then they never show up.
and they never showed back up. Like they were there and then they're not there, but
They're just like, I didn't want to get my ass kicked again.
yeah. So
I'm going to be over here.
So now they're on the island. They're on that planet
Yeah.
with the technology that
Yeah.
caused the bad guy to begin with.
Yeah.
But what she said was like multiple ships have come in and they've kept like taking all of them. So there's like many different crews that have been on that planet.
Right,
So
but we didn't run into them at all again, and they couldn't have gone that far. They're walking.
Yeah, they're just hiding out. They were moping.
Unless you use the amber on them later on, and then
Yeah.
they're stuck in there.
Well, they're
Yeah,
probably
that's
just
true.
living with the fact that they, all three of them got beat
their
up by a
ass kicked
girl.
by a girl.
Yeah, but it was just kind of one of
They
those
had
things.
their
Like
pride.
I mean,
They had their 90s
I like
pride.
this. I like the scene because that was the first time we got to see her use that technology.
And which
With
comes
holograms.
into play again.
Right, but I didn't like the fact that we didn't get a resolution for those three.
Those three. That's a good point. All right, let's see where are we at here. Oh, would you like to see the character Jayla, who was our white-faced alien woman with the black lines on her face, return in future Star Treks? John?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Just because I dig her. I think she's a great action actress. I
Yep.
loved her in Kingsman.
Yep.
I'd like to see her in engineering with Scotty.
Was Scotty?
Oh yeah,
Engineer's apprentice, maybe?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I like the character.
Did you?
I keep forgetting her name, but I actually, for me, that was,
Jayla.
yeah, it was one of my favorite characters out of the film.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
What was her name again?
Jayla.
I really actually think that we're going to see her in the next one, and she's going to take Chekhov's role.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
I think she's going to take. I think she's going to take Chekhov's role because she's going to have that engineering stuff, the tinkering, and the knowing how to do things like
weapons
that.
and
Yes, and
yeah.
they're going to pull. They're going to pull her into that position, and they're going to write Chekhov off the show because they said they're not going to kill him.
Yeah, well, because they also said they weren't going to recast him either.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. So they'll say he left because he was for some other reason, and they'll slide her into that spot.
Yeah, it makes sense because she's a warrior, weapon specialist. Blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, yeah.
you don't think they're just going to kill Chekhov off? Or
No, they already said they
No,
wouldn't.
they can't do that.
Yeah, they already said they wouldn't.
Well, he could be assigned to another ship too, so who knows?
Would you like to see the inclusion of new villains or bring back old villains like Khan and the Klingons going forward? John?
Actually, no. I
No?
mean,
Something new?
knowing this, the fact that we had a new villain, I think that's what made the franchise so strong. Is every time we've introduced someone new, like when Khan was first brought up in Wrath of Khan, that's what made him so great. Was he was such a unique villain.
But he was from the original series. Just throw it.
But still,
Yeah.
it's the fact that if they keep doing the same stuff over and over again, or the same villains, I mean, even the original movie series, they were starting to feel a little tired doing the Vulcan stuff over and over and over again.
Okay. Steph?
Yes, I'd like to see new villains. Should they bring back old ones? I don't think that they've really brought the Klingons in yet.
They've kind of hinted at them a little bit.
They've hinted,
Yeah.
but you've never really seen them.
Well, we briefly had them in Into Darkness, but that's how badly they wasted
Well-
them.
But that's what I'm saying. They need to restructure that one and maybe redo it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'll go ahead and answer the question real quick. I think they should do both. I think you should get new villains, but
Yes.
I also think
See, that's my.
Because
I think they should.
I would like to see Khan brought back in a
Right.
better way, and I would
Right.
also like to see, because in the first reboot of movie, they actually had that Romulan ship that screwed up the whole timeline.
Yeah.
Actually gets captured by the Klingons and gives the Klingons technology
Right.
and
There's-
undoes the
And
balance.
that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. I think the Klingon should be, part of the new villain for the next film, maybe,
Mhm.
because we've touched on it. We haven't done anything with it.
We haven't seen Kirk
have been
versus the
teased for 2
Klingons.
movies of them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. Aaron?
I'm fine either way.
Either way.
Either way, I'm cool.
That's cool.
I think that the inclusion of the Klingons is going to be, it's inevitable because they're part of that. They're a race inside of the Star Trek universe, so we're going to see them regardless.
Yeah.
Whether or not they use one of the same Klingon villains we've seen in the past, I don't think it needs to be the same. You can have a different one just as long as it's a Klingon.
Right.
And I think it needs to be new villains every time.
Right.
Yes.
It needs to be completely new. I don't think you're ever going to see Khan again.
Oh man,
Only
that's such a shame.
Well, only because of how poorly it was received, for one. For two, you're only three. You're going to be 4 movies in, and you're not. Why would you have the same villain for 2 movies? Right? You know what I'm saying?
I know,
Right.
he's just such a good villain to waste, though.
Yeah, but even then, you only had Khan for one of the original movies too.
I know.
But
I
the
know.
problem with how they use Khan, and probably because of the reason you want to see him back, they pissed it down their leg,
Mm-hmm.
and they had a chance to make it amazing, and they didn't.
I know.
This is not a good use of your Cumberbatch.
Yeah.
Well,
Precisely, and
I think they just used him too soon in the
Yeah.
series, like
Yeah.
in the reboot movies.
Oh, the whole thing
I
was
think
too soon.
I think they used him too soon, and they tried to force it.
Yeah.
But they're like, oh, he was in a tube, and he
This-
was this, and here's
honestly-
the other tubes of people from his race, and both like.
Honestly, this film that came out now should have been the second film,
Yeah, I agree.
and Into Darkness should have been the third film.
An internet-written fan fiction that never got filmed.
All right. Okay, so lately they've, at least in the reboot series, we've been seeing them show Spock with more feelings. We've been seeing Spock more. They've been toying with Spock with his human side and with his emotions more than they'd ever did in the original series. Would you like to see that continue, or would you like them to maybe return Spock to more logical Spock? Or would you prefer to see him continue to struggle with his emotions, I guess is the question.
I think he is still logical, and
Oh, he is.
and uses his emotions with the said logic,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why he was thinking of leaving, because he's like, it's more logical for me to go make baby Vulcans and increase my race.
Right.
But
But as the character as a whole, it seems like to me they've been really focusing on his emotional side, which the original series touched on but never really.
never,
We went there.
and I agree. But I think what they're doing with him now is good, and they need to keep doing it.
Okay, makes sense, John.
Yeah, I like where they're taking him now, because to have a stoic character like Leonard Nimoy's portrayal back then worked perfectly, but nowadays our ensemble casts are so much more dynamic than
You need feeling.
you need a little bit of it, and I think Zachary Quinto actually does such a good job skirting that that balance between both. He's emotional, but at the same time, he still keeps to his logical side.
I mean, Spock was laughing. At
Oh,
his
oh,
film.
I-
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
Spock laughing, scaring.
Yeah, that was
And
a
it
little
was
scary.
like, dude.
Wasn't the joke is you're delirious
Yeah.
sort of thing?
Yeah.
Like he was just out of it at that point.
That was the second time I think
We're gonna
Steph was
be-
disturbed by laughing
Yeah.
or something.
Brian, what did you think? Do you think we need a more logical Spock, or do you like the idea of?
I like where he is right now. I think if you want to keep it true to the other one, yeah, he need to be more logical. But I think the reason why he's showing that more human side is the whole relatability to the audience.
Oh yeah, because he's
Yeah.
in a relationship this time.
You know what I mean?
We're
Like
not used to seeing
so you're pulling in a whole different group of people when they can kind of relate to him when they're like, oh yeah, he's laughing at this, or he's in a relationship or whatever. You get the non-traditional Star Trek people. You get them starting to watch, and they're like, wow, that was a great action movie. They don't say that was a great Star Trek film or that was a great sci-fi movie or whatever. They say that was a great action movie. You see the action in that movie, and it's like,
And the other
broader
reason,
fan base.
the
Yep.
other reason I feel like Quinto's character in these reboots is going toward his more feeling side is because in this universe, quote unquote universe, his mother's killed
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
his
he's also in a
mother's
relationship.
And lost his entire planet too.
and lost his entire planet, and the only one he's left with is his father. His father, yes, is logical because he's very Vulcan, whereas his mother was, human, and he's lost that from her, but he's trying to keep it alive.
although the father did say, I married her because I loved her.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. It's like the father in the 2009
Yeah.
one actually has been more emotional than he ever has
Ever was, yeah.
in the series.
Yeah. Unless you watched Next Generation, where he literally died from his emotions. But anyway,
Yeah.
beside the point. Aaron?
Yeah, I actually think where they're at is actually pretty decent. It adds kind of a nice complexity to character, makes it more multidimensional, and kind of sets up like a decent, smaller sub-story arc for him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It just seems like they're really focusing on it this time around. All right.
I think we answered number 8.
Yeah, I think we already answered. Number 8 was, did you like the rebuilt Enterprise? Exactly the same.
Yeah, we did.
We also answered number 9, which was, with Anton Yelchin's real life death, do you think they'll recast Chekhov? Or
Yeah,
you
we
write
talked
him
about
off?
that one.
Talked about that. So let's finish out the round. Quick last question: where would you like to see the next Star Trek movie go, Brian?
On their next mission out farther in space. Although I don't know, I really like that Yorktown.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. Yeah.
So I don't know if I want to see them leave Yorktown or be out on a mission, come back to Yorktown to go on another mission to watch that, the zigzag. I don't know. I really like Yorktown though.
Yeah, I'd hate to see them blow it up, though. You know what I mean?
Well, no, I don't think they're going to.
No,
I
God, if you blow that up,
I don't
that'd
think
be
they'll blow it up.
terrible.
But because I don't want to say, I don't want to go deep space.
Yeah.
But I think at some point that was the whole Star Trek series, was that they were away from everything and couldn't get back, so they were trying to navigate back. So you got to get to that at some point. They can't just stay around Earth and these other human colonies and everything else, because that was like their whole thing was exploration.
That's cool. Aaron?
I think it'd be interesting to see him get warped into an alternate reality.
Ooh, we're an alternate timeline within an alternate timeline?
Yeah, I think it'd be
Going
fun.
deep.
Perception of you.
Go
Yeah.
Well, we already have Yorktown looking like Inception. Might as well go full Inception.
All of a sudden they showed Kirk in the Enterprise and his tops keep spinning.
Warp speed, Mr. Sulu.
Kirk runs into Shatner.
Yeah.
Shatner's some bum.
Now that would be kind of neat to have Kirk show up on one of these.
Yeah.
I would love that. That would be great.
70?
Where would I like to see them go? Yeah, where would I like to see the next Star Trek go?
Kansas. I'd like to see him go to Kansas.
I would like to see
Well, they
them.
went to Iowa.
I
Yeah.
would like to see them boldly go where they have never gone before, and if that's Phoenix, Arizona, then so be it. But wherever it goes, I will be happy with it. I hope.
Phoenix, Arizona. That's a rough Star Trek movie.
You know,
Okay.
one thing we haven't seen yet,
Yeah.
the holodeck.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's next generation.
I know it
They
is.
flirted with it in this
I know it
movie.
is, but that'd be pretty cool if they brought in and started bringing in the holodeck like they did for Generation.
Well, they start
Yeah,
the
they flirt-
holograms.
Yeah, they flirted with it in this movie, so yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, the Star Trek's Danger Room.
John, where would you like to see him go next?
You know, for as much as they've amped it up and made Star Trek for this generation, I would actually like to see them kind of go back to the science fiction route and actually make it metaphorical or make it timely, because with Star Trek 2, the concept behind that was, I want to make this like naval warfare in space. With Star Trek 4, it had the deeper meaning of, preserving the environment for future generations. With Star Trek 6, that whole movie was a metaphor for the Cold War, the Iron Curtain falling. And those were the ones that everyone think is the best. So, I mean, I would like to see them kind of go back to that, those roots of...
So you want to see him touch on terrorism, maybe, or
No, because we've seen that enough.
We
honestly,
we have lived that enough.
or maybe the rearming of the world, which is kind of going on right now.
it would be
So-
kind of neat to actually have them come across a society that still has kind of a classist warfare, because as we know in Star Trek, there's no economy, there's no political party.
And if you're a red shirt, you're fucked.
Yeah, well, there's that.
That's the whole
but
true.
yeah, that's the other thing too, is that the Federation is the fact that all galaxies and all universes that are part of this are all working together for a common good. What if in their journey or in their next mission they come across a classist thing, and then this ideals of what's going on in our current time with everything in the class kind of is mirrored. So
Yeah.
there's a lot that can be done, and actually go back to the very roots of Star Trek and still make it timely, still make it awesome, still make it exciting, because we've got the crew, we've got the writers, we've got the cast. We could just bring it all full circle and just make it back to science fiction instead of science fantasy.
I kind of like where you're going. Where
Shark Week.
here's Shark.
Shark Trek.
Shark Trek. Actually,
Sharknado Trek.
I shit you not, one of the shows is actually called Shark Trek. And it talks about the sharks
seriously?
that are really down deep that could be like from other places. It's fucking hilarious. But anyway, go ahead.
That would be hilarious with George Takei. Oh my.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Like the shark just like jumps up, like bites something. Oh my!
Yeah.
real quick, what I would like to see is kind of what John was talking about, but I would like to see them maybe run into an earlier version of
Squales.
no, not squales. Fuck the squales.
Triple?
The squales on Shark Trek. You have to go. You have to go back to Star Wars Rebels podcast on the squale thing.
Because then it would be like, just like one of those the original episodes, right, where they saved the whales.
Yeah.
You're like, save the squales.
It's like a crossover.
Voyage home to save the squirrel.
Yes.
It is the fourth of the franchise.
See?
No.
Oh my god, I'm looking at the voice meter on
No.
our thing. It's going nuts.
No.
That would be
right.
amazing.
Oh, you totally threw me off. Anyway,
Squirrels!
what I'd like to see is actually see them run into a primitive
Wall?
version of the God, he got me off the squale thing. He's got me off.
Vulcans?
No, a
Romulans?
primitive version of the robot people.
The
Borg.
Oh, I don't want to see that.
I do.
That's the only one I don't want to see. I
totally-
hated the Borg.
I love the Borg.
The Borg was awful. It's
I would like to
Borg
see it be
worked,
something paradoxical where they actually create the Borg.
The Borg had nothing to do with original Star Trek.
I don't care. They're fucking
Well,
awesome.
it-
So what you want
regardless-
to see
Yeah.
is Star Wars reboot meets Star Trek Next Generation or
No,
other series.
I would like
Really-
to see it be something paradoxical where the crew of the Enterprise puts events in motion to create the motherfuckers.
Okay, so the Borg becomes Ultron.
the Borg become the Borg are like the
no,
White Walkers
Ultron.
of the Star Trek
Okay.
universe.
I really didn't like the Borg, though.
Oh, I did. I thought they were
The
fantastic.
Borg
I
were
actually have
great
no
in the
idea what we're
90s, but
talking
the more
about,
they
so-
utilized them.
I loved them.
I mean, and it made. I mean, here's the thing: the Borg made for probably the greatest season finale of Next Generation.
Yes, it
That
did.
moment with Commander Riker taking the chair, and then was it Picard is one of the Borg, and you leave with him. Like, is it the whole question was, can you make the hard decisions that Picard did? And that was a great
But if you
season
make it,
finale.
if you make it paradoxical, if you make it so that they're the reason that the motherfuckers are created in the first place, fantastic. I'm telling
Would you
Star
include
Trek
the
right
Next
on.
Generation crew to be rebooted?
No. Well,
No,
you wouldn't
can't
have
do
it.
that. You can't do that.
Okay, if
I
you-
wouldn't do it.
If you do the Borg, like you said, like they created it,
right
and
by accident,
and it's something that they hint that they did, but you don't actually see the Borg. So it's like
Right.
the end of one, so
Right.
like maybe a future movie down the road.
or just that they're
But
out
it-
there.
But it's not a fucking cube with machines. That's what drove me nuts. I'm like, it's so stupid.
I did.
Well, but here's the thing: is like in space, the dimensions of your ship doesn't matter, so it could be a square, and it was boring, yeah, because they're kind of boring.
all right. If you
They
want
were very boring.
if you want to make the Borg a little bit more cooler, fine. But either way, I like that. That's my idea.
They're space zombies.
They are the White Walkers of the Star
They were
Trek
space
universe.
zombies.
Space zombies.
Yeah, they are.
All right,
They
so
really are.
Are they like machines or like androids?
Yes, it's a
So-
machine
so-
that
so-
works on a hive mentality.
They're terroroids.
So basically,
Okay.
what they would do is they would take half of your body, half of you would be they're like kind of like cyborg.
Yeah.
Okay,
you're
so why do
cyborgs.
they only take
There's-
half? Like, wouldn't it be
Well, no,
more
They,
because
they
they-
just put
both of them?
bionic implants in,
It's
Oh,
all
okay.
bionic.
and then you become part of their hive.
Oh, okay.
It,
So
it
your collective
literally-
knowledge builds their collective knowledge.
Oh,
It's,
okay.
it's literally space zombies. It's Star Trek's version.
Well, I don't know if I'd consider a hive mind the same thing as like a zombie.
It's as close as Star Trek's going to get to it.
Well, I mean, zombies are kind of mindless. Don't get me wrong; they do
Right,
act
well,
on
but
animal
it's
instinct, but there is
different.
Right, but these were the zombies that once they plugged into the mega computer or whatever, they were all like, if you see it, I see it, and so they all just kind of turned and
yeah. So they can actually act cooperatively.
yes.
Yeah. So imagine if zombies were like bees
Okay. So kind of like
with
the
machines.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
the
wouldn't
Borg.
even mind them, throwing in a little something with Data's origin with that too. Just throw a bone.
Now, see that would be kind of cool to see.
Oh my
a
god,
data-
the death look you're getting
That would be
from
kind of
Stephanie
neat to
is
see a
awesome for
data
radio.
origin or like a first version of Data.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
I'm telling you.
Or
Anyway,
like Next Generation. Sorry.
those are the
I
things you
did
can
too.
use. Yeah. So,
I really did too.
all right. So now that my controversy is out there, let's
That was
move on
big.
to final thoughts and grades. John, final thought and grade for Star Trek Beyond.
I mulled over this and I actually just posted this on a movie site today. I actually gave it an 8.5 out of 10, which
B plus.
Yeah, B plus, A minus. This is my favorite of the reboots. This goes beyond 2009, which, and even I have a sentimental spot for 2009 because it was the first one I actually saw on the big screen, and it was, from that it kind of kicked off everything I knew from Star Trek, because that's when I not only found out how big of a Trekkie my wife was, but how big of a Trekkie my parents were when I took them, and then that just kind of kicked off how much I learned about the shows and the movies. Steph sat me down that year and I watched 1 through 10 of all the movies, and I got to see them all, and I kind of got where the whole Star Trek universe came from. And yeah, Star Trek Beyond is the one that feels the most like it belongs part of that entire movie franchise. So it's it's modern enough for this generation, but it still fits there. So 8.5, great summer film. Probably one of the most enjoyables I've seen in a while.
And that, Stephanie?
I give it a 9.
Okay.
Just because, or an A.
Yeah.
It did a good job standing on its own. It did a very good job standing on its own. As far as a reboot goes and things like that. But to me, it didn't really feel like a reboot. To me, it felt like
It felt like
a new story.
It felt like a Star Trek episode.
Yeah, it felt like a Star Trek episode. It felt like a Star Trek movie. The first one in 2009 felt like a reboot of the whole series, and it needed it because you had a whole new generation of Star Trek fans, of us finding out, hey, our parents watched this show. Hey, we probably watched this show reruns when we were sitting at dinner with our parents, or after dinner we'd sit and watch TV. It was on. Not you, Aaron, but yeah. But it was cool, and it felt like a reboot then. Now it just feels like a good Star Trek film that finally we can say, hey, we have this. This is awesome. Go see it. Mm-hmm. If you haven't seen it yet, get off your ass. Why are you? Don't listen to this right now. Go watch the damn film.
Yeah, it's sad to say that this is performing so badly in the box office right now compared to the other two. This is the one that needs to be seen in the theater.
The word needs to get out.
Yeah.
Aaron?
I'd probably give this film about a 7. I think it's actually a really great action film. It has a really nice touch with, the homage to Spock and Leonard Nimoy, and it had a very good plot, and it's introduced some new characters, expanded the universe. Once again, in terms of just architecture, the Yorktown is just beautiful. So if you enjoyed any of the previous two or any of the classic Star Treks, yeah, it's definitely a flick you might want to see.
Okay, cool. Brian?
You get about an 8.5, 9, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
I mean, it was phenomenal, and like John said, it's probably one of the best movies I've seen, definitely this year. Because it's in its own little niche.
Yeah.
It's not a comic book movie, so you can't put it in that, and it's not a
animated.
It's not an animated movie, but it's an action movie.
Oh yeah.
And it's not a reboot either.
It didn't feel like a reboot. You got the same kind of classic stuff, but you had the new villain,
right.
And that's what needed to happen. If they had tried to do another previous villain from it would have bombed, because everybody had been like, why do I want to see it again? You didn't. That's 2 in a row now. You didn't hit it with Khan. You're not going to hit it with this one.
Yeah.
So the fact that they did a new villain, just
with a classic Star Trek twist on it.
And the new villain was one of their own.
Yeah. Well, the fact
granted, not one of their own as far as the crew, but
Federation.
It was a Federation officer.
Well, that was the only part that I really didn't like, because I guessed it before it happened.
Oh yeah.
Because it was that predictable for me.
Yeah, me too.
And going off what you're both saying, I think the one thing that we forgot to touch on throughout this whole show, this was actually a pretty good villain too.
Yeah.
Idris Elba is a fantastic actor, and he brought a really good threat.
Right. When you got to think, he was a Starfleet captain.
Yeah.
So he knew how they thought. He knew their action plans.
And before that, he was, before the
angry.
Federation started, because he was a soldier,
Yep.
He was angry. He was a captain. He didn't want to be a captain.
Right.
They threw him in that position and said, "Well, you're going to lead the ship."
So he had a great backstory behind him too. So yeah, it's
I would give this. I'll go along with the 8.5, the 9, B plus, A minus, probably more A minus than B plus.
9 starships out of 10.
9 photon torpedoes to the home.
Warp factor 9. No, it was fun. It wasn't just. It felt like Star Trek, but it was also a fun movie. It was an action movie, part action, part Star Trek, just part fun. And honestly, this is exactly what this franchise needed at this time. When you have Star Wars back alive at the fever level that it is, which I'm happy that it is. Don't get me wrong. But
You are?
Oh yeah, couldn't
I
tell.
never would have known that.
Never would have guessed that, huh? But it's
You're
nice.
a Star Wars fan?
Yeah, crazy. Huh?
I
But
really hated it. They made Chewbacca gay.
but no.
Yeah.
That's why
Lumpy.
he's so hairy.
Lumpy.
All right. But yeah, so it was in an era where Star Wars has been so dominant for at least the last 2 to 3 years, and Star Trek, after it was rebooted, it was on high, and then we hit Into Darkness, and it kind of went into darkness, and then Star Wars came back with a vengeance, and now
Star Wars
this is exactly what this series needed. It needed this nice booster shot to keep it going, to keep the fans going, to keep people going back to it. If you haven't seen this movie, like John says, it's not doing so well at the box office. Go see it. It's worth it. Even if you're not a Star Trek fan, you're gonna have fun. You're gonna enjoy it. You're gonna see those wow factors. You're gonna enjoy it. I mean, even like we were talking about the bad guy, which we didn't really even talk about. He kept giving you enough Easter eggs. You kept thinking in your head, "Who is this guy? How does he know this? Why does he know this?" They kept that hook in
How
your
does
mouth.
he know English?
Yeah, they kept that hook in your mouth, and they kept reeling you in little by little with it. And they put a nice little Star Trek twist at the end. And it's a really good movie. If you're not a Star Trek fan, you're going to love it. If you are a Star Trek fan, you're going to love it even more. So, yeah. So, anyway, John, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
Stephanie, thanks for joining us.
Live long and prosper.
Yeah. Aaron, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem.
Yep. Brian?
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. And for myself, B. Willie, also saying go to Google real quick and type in 4 Midwest Guys. You find our Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. Reach out to us, talk back to us, and we'll talk back to you. So for next time, this is B. Willie saying beam me up, Scotty. See you next time.